Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 We're reading Bhagavad-gītā as it is, chapter 12 on devotional service, text number 12. Śreyo hi jñānam abhyāsāj. Śreyo hi jñānam abhyāsāj. Jñānād dhyānaṁ viśiṣyate. Jñānād viśiṣyate. Dhyānāt karma-phala-tyāgas. Dhyānāt karma-phala-tyāgas. Tyāgāc chāntir anantaram. Tyāgāc chāntir anantaram. Śreyo hi jñānam abhyāsāj. Jñānam viśiṣyate. Dhyānāt karma-phala-tyāgas. Tyāgāc chāntir anantaram. Śreyo hi jñānam abhyāsāj. Dhyānam viśiṣyate. Dhyānāt karma-phala-tyāgas. Tyāgāc chāntir anantaram. Anyone else like to chant? Better. He certainly. Jñānam knowledge. Abhyāsāj then practice. Dhyānāt then knowledge. Jñānam meditation. Viśiṣyate is considered better. Dhyānāt then meditation. Karma-phala-tyāgas, renunciation of the results of fruit of action. tyāgāc, by such renunciation, chāntir, peace, anantaram, thereafter. Translation: if you cannot take to this practice, then engage yourself in the cultivation of knowledge. Better than knowledge, however, is meditation, and better than meditation is renunciation of the fruits of action. For by such renunciation, one can attain peace of mind. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. As mentioned in the previous verses, there are two kinds of devotional service: the way of regulative principles and the way of full attachment in love to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For those who are actually not able to follow the principles of Krishna consciousness, it is better to cultivate knowledge, because by knowledge one will be able to understand his real position. Gradually, knowledge will develop to the point of meditation. By meditation, one can be able to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead by a gradual process. There are processes which make one understand that one himself is the Supreme. And that sort of meditation is preferred if one is unable to engage in devotional service. If one is not able to meditate in such a way, then there are prescribed duties, as enjoined in the Vedic literature, for the Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Sudras, which we shall find in the last chapter of Bhagavad-gītā. But in all cases, one should give up the result or fruits of labor. This means to employ the result of karma for some good cause. In summary, to reach the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the highest goal, there are two processes. One process is by gradual development, and the other process is direct. Devotional service in Krishna consciousness is the direct method, and the other method involves renouncing the fruits of one's activities. Then one can come to the stage of knowledge, then to the stage of meditation, then to the stage of understanding the Supersoul, and then to the stage of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One may take either the step-by-step process or the direct path. The direct process is not possible for everyone. Therefore, the indirect process is also good. It is, however, to be understood that the indirect process is not recommended for Arjuna, because he is already at the stage of loving devotional service to the Supreme Lord. It is for others who are not at this stage. For them, the gradual process of renunciation, knowledge, meditation, and realization of the Supersoul and Brahman should be followed. But as far as Bhagavad-gītā is concerned, it is the direct method that is stressed. Everyone is advised to take to the direct method and surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Om Ajnana-timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chaksurunmilitanyena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manubhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Bandeham Shri Guru Shri Yata Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sakrajatam Sahagana Raganatanvitam Tam Sajevam Sadvaitam Sarvadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanitamscha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gorange Radhe Vrindavanishwari Rishabhanustate Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namah Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna. Please keep your mobile off or silent mode. Disturbing activity. Or please switch off your mobile or keep it on silent mode.
So we're reading from the 12th chapter, Bhagavad Gita. Lord Krishna, at the end of the 6th chapter, had explained the yoga ladder, and he'd given the conclusion that of all types of yoga, the highest yoga is that of devotional service, to be absorbed in loving devotion to the Supreme Lord. And then in chapter 7 and 8, Lord Krishna goes on to explain knowledge about himself, because he's explained the importance of thinking about him. So he has to explain more about himself to make it easier for the devotee to remember Krishna. And he explains about his different energies, and he explains about the 4 kinds of people who surrender to him, and how the best is one in knowledge. All of these things are explained in chapter 7. And in chapter 8, he explains how by remembering him at the end of life, we can attain him. Then in the 9th chapter, he gives us the most confidential knowledge, Raja Vidya. That knowledge of how he has a very intimate, loving exchange with his devotees. He's equal to everyone, but he has a special affection for his devotees. It's in that section of the 9th chapter, he explains that he will always protect his devotee. Kuntiya pritijanihi nami bhakta pranashyati. Tells Arjuna, my devotee will never perish. And he says, even if a devotee is sinful, if he has some bad habit, if he's done some sinful thing, he will quickly make him righteous, and he should be considered a sadhu. So this is Raja Vidya. He's explaining this confidential knowledge. Then after hearing all this, then Arjuna wants to know about the opulences of Lord Krishna. So chapter 10, Vibhuti Yoga. Krishna describes his vibhutis, how we can remember the Lord through the different features of the material world. Many different aspects of the Lord are explained. How Krishna is the taste in water, how he is the light of the sun and the moon, how he is ability in man and the life of all that lives. Okay, we have to interrupt here. A car is blocking. Toyota Echo, number 230634. Please move your car. So after hearing about the opulences of the Lord, Arjuna wants to see them also. So that's the subject of the 11th chapter. Lord Krishna displays the universal form, and he gives Arjuna a chance to actually see his opulences in that Vishwarup. So then it comes to the 12th, the next chapter is just simply concerned with devotional service, because Arjuna's understood the importance of devotional service, and he wants to hear about this. And he asks Krishna about who is better, the one who is attached to his impersonal feature or one who is attached to his personal feature. And Lord Krishna immediately replies that one who is attached to his personal feature is considered the best. And then Lord Krishna goes on in verse 8, in this section which we're reading from just now. We read the 12th verse, but in text 8 he explains about the highest level of devotion. He explains that he says that Just fix your mind upon me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Engage all your intelligence in me. Thus you will live in me always, without a doubt. This is the highest form of yoga, bhakti yoga. That simply thinking of Krishna, our mind is fixed upon Him without any deviation. So that is a very advanced stage of Krishna consciousness. You know, to come to that level of devotional service is not very easy. How many of us can do it? Maybe none of us, right? To remember Krishna constantly at every moment. That is something very difficult. So, text 9, then Krishna comes down a level. He's explaining different levels of devotion which we should understand. We should try to appreciate, where are we at in devotional service? What level are we on? Now, to engage our mind always in Krishna without any deviation, that is very exalted, very special level of devotion, which may take us some time to come to that level. So what's next? What's the step down? One step down, and described in text 9, Lord Krishna explains, if you cannot fix your mind upon me without deviation, then follow the regulative principles of devotional service. And in this way, you will develop a desire to attain me. The regulative principles of devotional service are different from the principles which you have to follow for initiation. When we say the regulative principles of devotional service, we don't simply mean don't eat meat, fish and eggs, don't take intoxication, no gambling, no illicit sex, and chant 16 rounds. That is the qualification for initiation. But that is not what Lord Krishna is referring to here when he says, follow the regulative principles of devotional service. The principles of devotional service are something more than just 4 principles, not eating meat, fish and eggs and so on. Actually, those 4 principles which we follow at initiation, which we vow to follow at initiation, they are meant for all civilized people. Those are the pillars of religion, and all civilized people are meant to follow them. In Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada explains how it's the duty of the heads of state to enforce such principles. Anyone who has any responsible position, any teacher, any statesman, any leader, he should follow these principles and set the example for others. However, that is not the principles of Bhakti Yoga. What are the principles of Bhakti Yoga? These are described by Srila Prabhupada in the purport. The principles of Bhakti Yoga are waking up early in the morning, taking a bath, and then chanting the Hare Krishna mantra on our beats, offering some worship to the Lord, either in the form of the deity or in the form of a picture, somehow offering some worship and even offering something like incense or flowers to the Lord. We should, when we cook food, we should offer that food also to the Lord. And we should constantly hear the scriptures in the association of devotees. This is something which we should, not just once a week, just hearing scriptures once a week, that's not enough. You have to hear every day. Regularly you have to hear. If you just hear once in a week, how much you can remember? It's not going to, you hear once and then you don't hear for another week. My God, you don't have much to keep you going through the week. So it's very important to hear regularly. Srila Prabhupada taught us morning and evening program. Hearing in the morning, and then hearing again in the evening, like a sandwich. You know, this is our real business as a devotee in practicing bhakti yoga. If you want to practice bhakti yoga means Nava Anga Bhakti, beginning with hearing and chanting, right? Shravanam Kirtan. This is the real basis of bhakti yoga. And we have to do this throughout the day, morning, evening. We need to every day. You know, we don't want holiday from these things. When you work in a job, you need a holiday. But devotional service, we want more devotional service. We don't need the holiday from hearing and chanting. We need to increase our hearing and chanting. Because we should be taking pleasure in these activities. Ordinary jobs, you get tired, you need a rest. But hearing and chanting, the engaging in spiritual activities is very satisfying for the soul, that one wants to do these activities more and more. So, Lord Krishna says, if we cannot fix our mind on Him without deviation, then follow the regulative principles of bhakti yoga, as I have just described to you. By doing this, we will develop a desire to attain Krishna. Now, what if we cannot follow the regulative principles of bhakti yoga? Not everyone can do these things. You know, it's not easy. Some people, you know, we have other things. We're just not able to do it. Our mind won't allow us, or maybe commitments we have, you know, we feel more inclined to do other things. We're not ready to do that yet. So what about that? Is there a lower level? Lord Krishna explains. He goes on in verse number 10. He says, if you cannot practice the regulations of bhakti yoga, then just try to work for me. Because by working for me, you will come to the perfect stage. Working means using our senses, physically doing some activities for Krishna. Bhakti yoga, we're using our mind, you know, we're more conscious that we're doing something for Krishna. You know, you're offering arti, you're offering cooking food for Krishna and so on. You know, we're conscious about that. We're within our mind, we understand we're doing this for Krishna. But if we're not able to follow the bhakti yoga principles, then still we can work for Krishna. Working for Krishna, using this body. And the result of working for Krishna is we will gradually come to the perfect stage. Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport here, he gives some examples how we can work for Krishna. He says, there are many devotees who are engaged in propagating Krishna consciousness, and they require help. So, even if we cannot practice the principles of bhakti yoga, we can try to help them in working for Krishna. Every endeavor requires land, capital, organization, and labor. Just as in a business, one requires a place to stay, capital, money, labor, organization. So in the same way, in Krishna consciousness, if one has sufficient money, he can build an office or a temple for propagating Krishna consciousness. Or he can help with publications. There are various fields of activities, and one should be interested in such activities. If one cannot sacrifice the results of his activities, he can still sacrifice some percentage to propagate Krishna consciousness. And in this way, by sacrificing something for the service of Krishna, we will gradually come to a higher level of consciousness. You know, this is the process. No one is useless. Everyone can do something for the service of Krishna. Prabhupada told the devotees, you have to be able to engage the whole world in Krishna consciousness. We cannot tell someone, oh, you're useless, you can't do anything. We don't need you. No, everyone can do something for the service of Krishna. Now, what if someone thinks, well, I'm not able to give something for Krishna. I'm not able to work for, you're saying you have to, if I cannot do bhakti yoga, then I should work for Krishna. But sometimes people are not even allowed to work for Krishna. You know, maybe their family are against the Krishna consciousness movement. They have some reason, maybe from some other religion or from some other sect. Maybe they're more involved with some other cultural activities, and their family are very much against the propagation of Krishna consciousness, this idea of Vaishnavism, and they won't allow their family members to take part. Then what can be done? Well, Lord Krishna explains, he gives a suggestion in the next verse. He's coming down lower still. We cannot work for Krishna. Then Krishna says, try to act giving up the results of your work and try to be self-situated. In other words, if you can't work for Krishna, then give up the results of your work for something else. You can do charity. Maybe you donate for a hospital or some welfare society. Someone may even become a military man and do national service. In this way, you're working, you're sacrificing your work for others. Of course, that's material. You don't make spiritual advancement by doing that. But it does help one to be detached. This is explained here by Lord Krishna himself. It's important that we should become detached from the results of our work. Not that we just simply think to enjoy everything ourselves. That is the material concept of life. Where there should be some concern to do something for the benefit of others. So Lord Krishna is saying, if you cannot work for him, then try to work just giving up the result. Because this will purify the mind. Prabhupada explains, in this respect, social service, community service, national service, sacrifice for one's country may be accepted, so that someday one may come to this stage of pure devotional service to the Lord. In the Bhagavad-gītā, it is said that if one decides to sacrifice for the supreme cause, even if he does not know that the supreme cause is Krishna, he will gradually come to understand that Krishna is the supreme cause. So Lord Krishna has explained these different points. Now, text 12, which we are reading tonight, he is saying, if you cannot take to this practice, then engage yourself in the cultivation of knowledge. When Lord Krishna says, if you cannot take to this practice, he is referring to the practice which was mentioned not in text 9 or 11, but in text 10. In text 10 it was described that we should work for Krishna. If we're not able to work for Krishna, then here Lord Krishna is giving an alternative. He said, try to cultivate knowledge. What knowledge? Knowledge of the soul. Brahma-gyan. The difference between the body and soul, as it is described in the 2nd chapter of the Bhagavad-gītā. This knowledge will bring one to a higher consciousness. By hearing this knowledge of the soul, then one will gradually, eventually come to the point where he can take up some type of meditation and absorb himself in thinking of the soul. By meditation, one will become more controlled and detached from material activities. And this meditation can go on to give one realization of God, which will come progressively, beginning with Brahman, and then coming to Paramatma, and ultimately to Bhagavan. So this is the indirect process, that you cultivate some knowledge, and then meditation, and then try to realize Brahman, and then go on to realize Paramatma, and then Bhagavan. This is what Prabhupada described in the purport as the indirect process. The direct process is to take up Krishna consciousness. If we cannot do Bhakti Yoga, we can do Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga is also the direct process. Karma Yoga and Bhakti Yoga are very close. In Prabhupada's translation, he does not make a distinction between Karma Yoga and Bhakti Yoga. It's a subtle distinction, not a big distinction, but Karma Yoga gradually brings one to Bhakti Yoga. Prabhupada gives an example. If you want to go to the 12th floor of a building, are you going to walk up the stairs, or will we take the elevator? Any sane person will take the elevator. That is the direct process. The indirect process is walk up the stairs. You cultivate knowledge, then meditation, then realize Brahman, then Paramatma, then Bhagavan. This is the indirect process. This is like walking up the stairs. What is wrong with the indirect process? It takes a long time. We don't have a lot of time. Our life is short in this Kali Yuga. Prayena payasa sabya kalovasmin yuge jana. Manda sumanda matayo manda bhagyahi upadruta. In the Kali Yuga, we're all blessed, or cursed rather, with a short life. We're also lazy, we're unlucky, we're misguided, we're always disturbed. We don't have peace of mind. This is how Vyasadeva has described the attributes of people in the Kali Yuga. If we take to the indirect process, we may never get there. It just takes so long that along the path there will be so many other things which will deviate us, because our minds are not very well focused, they're not concentrated. Our minds are easily disturbed. Difficult for us to control the mind. Arjuna also, even before Kali Yuga began, he was telling Krishna that I cannot do the process of yoga you have described, because my mind is more restless than the wind. And Arjuna was a great man, a Maharati. We're nothing compared to him. If Arjuna cannot control his mind, what possibility do we have? So the direct process is being explained here in the Bhagavad Gita. Although the indirect process is there, Arjuna is encouraged he's taking the direct process. We should follow also this example of Arjuna. Prabhupada, in preaching Krishna consciousness, simply taught the direct process. Engage everyone in some type of activities in relation to Krishna. At the same time, we can also hear knowledge of the soul, the difference between the body and soul, but we don't need to spend a lot of time. We don't need to bother about meditating on the Brahman or Paramatma. We simply apply all our energy and activities towards service to the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. That is Bhakti Yoga. That everyone, anywhere, in any condition of life, they can all do something in the service of Krishna. There's no barrier in Krishna consciousness. Devotional service does not restrict anyone from taking up the activities. It's open for everyone, regardless of their birth or their social condition, their class or creed. Anyone in any position of life can do some service for Krishna. But there are different levels of service. It's up to us how we focus our mind and how we apply ourselves to Krishna consciousness. If we cannot fix our mind without deviation on Krishna, then there is bhakti yoga, the process of bhakti yoga. As practiced here in the temple, we're learning by coming to the temple, and just as the devotees do here in the temple, it's not that you have to live in the temple to do bhakti yoga, but as devotees do the activities here in the temple, you should do the same activities in your home. If you're going to do bhakti yoga at home, then you do the activities just as we do here in the temple. In home also, you wake up early in the morning, take a bath, you do Mangal Arti, you offer some worship to the Lord, you offer your obeisances to the Lord, you chant His holy name, you chant japa, you read scriptures, you cook food, you offer it to Krishna. The activities are the same. Srila Prabhupada was a grihastha. He did not live in the temple. He was not a brahmachari. As a grihastha, he was living at home with his family, but he was engaging in Krishna consciousness. And he was engaging also his family in Krishna conscious activities. The home is not a bondage, is not a barrier to being Krishna conscious. The home for a devotee is also the temple. It's the place of Lord Krishna. There's no difference. So that is the principles of bhakti yoga. However, if we're not able to follow all these principles of bhakti yoga, which is according to different rules and regulations, then still we can work for Krishna. This is the idea. Karma yoga. That we all have a body, we have senses, we can use this body of senses and engage them in Krishna consciousness, doing something for Krishna. Srila Prabhupada explains, if someone has some land, even if it's just a small piece of land, then they can grow tulsi there. You can plant tulsi trees and grow tulsi. That's very good use of land. And then the tulsi leaves, they can be given to devotees, and devotees can use them for their worship. Some devotees, they grow tulsi, and then they will bring tulsi to the temple. They will make a nice tulsi garland to be placed around the neck of the deity. That is a very first-class offering for the worship of Lord Krishna. Krishna is very pleased with offerings of tulsi. It's very dear to him. So this is a simple way in which we can do some work for Krishna. People like to clean the temple for Krishna, cleaning the floor. Sometimes at home, one may not like to even clean one's house so much. But if we think of the home as being Krishna's home, or the temple also the home of Krishna, then we will be eager to clean. Because cleaning the temple, that is like cleaning the heart. When you do some work, we do some work for Krishna, maybe we're cleaning, washing the pots for Krishna. When we have to cook, devotees have to cook prasadam, you all like to have prasadam, it takes a lot of work. Devotees have to go purchase vegetables, cut the vegetables, cook the vegetables and everything. So work that the people are needed to go to the market, purchase, to chop, clean all the vegetables and cut them and cook them. People are needed to wash up afterwards, cleaning everything. This is all karma yoga. When we do karma yoga, that is also cleaning our heart. It's bringing us closer to Krishna. So this is the idea. If we do some activities for Krishna, we become purified. In the material world, when we do some activities, we want to know how much we get paid. What are you giving me in return, right? People will ask, how much will you pay me? You want me to do this work, how much will you pay me? That's the material world. In Krishna consciousness, there is also some payment, but it's not coming in the form of hard cash. The benefit you get is purification. Krishna pays you by purifying our heart. When we do some service for him with love, then Krishna purifies the heart. Purification of the heart means he takes away things like lust, anger and greed, illusion, madness and envy, the enemies of man. These things are taken away the more we engage in service to Lord Krishna. This is a payment we get by doing service for Lord Krishna. That is why devotional service is a rare thing. It's not everyone who gets the opportunity to do devotional service. Oh, you have to be very fortunate. It's a great blessing. Sometimes we cannot understand how fortunate we are when somebody asks us, they will come and say, Mataji, can you cook today? You know, if she says, oh, you want me to cook again? I cooked last week, you know. Or if we say, can you lead the arti tonight? They say, oh, why you always ask me to sing? You know, sometimes people, sometimes we feel reluctant to do service. We don't know, it's a great fortune to get the opportunity to do service for Krishna. It's very rare. After many, many lifetimes in this material world, we've been through so many different bodies and species of life, and now we're so fortunate we've come into the association of devotees, and we get the opportunity to do something for Krishna. If we don't take it, then we're the biggest fool. We're the most stupid person, because we have something so valuable, so beneficial, and if we cannot appreciate it, then it is very unfortunate. So, Lord Krishna is explaining to Arjuna how one can practice this devotional service. And if you cannot do devotional service, then there are other things which you can do which will help to qualify you in the future. Maybe that we can come to devotional service. The idea is we want to try to give people more and more mercy. We have there's one aspect which helps to bring people to Krishna consciousness is sukriti. It is described in Bhagavad-gītā, Yesham tvantagatam papam jñānam punya karmana tidanva moha nirmukta bhajanti mam drada vrata. That the qualification for devotional service is described in this verse by Lord Krishna, that it is meant for people who have acted piously in previous lives and whose sinful activities are destroyed. How can we get that good fortune? We didn't come here because we have acted piously in previous lives. That's not really how we got here. That punya karmana. How did we get that punya karmana? Prabhupada explained, he said, one devotee asked Prabhupada, are we devotees because of our piety, because of our punya? Prabhupada said, I am creating your punya. Now, when we contact the devotees of Krishna, that is when we get real punya. That is agyata sukriti, that unknowing punya, pious activity. We do some service for Krishna. You give a donation, somebody asks you to donate something for the temple, maybe Janmashtami or some big festival is coming, and you go and ask your friends, can you give a donation? If they give a donation, they get some punya, agyata sukriti, and that sukriti qualifies them for devotional service. This is what brings people closer to Krishna. We give them a book. If they take a book and read it, they get some sukriti. We hear scriptures. That is also punya. It is said, Shrinvatam Swagata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana. By hearing the message of the scriptures, we get pious activities. So this kind of piety is very special. It doesn't just bring you material opulence in the world, but it brings you devotional service. That is the highest punya. That punya which brings you into contact with the devotees and qualifies you to take up more service for Krishna. Why is that so important? Because by service for Krishna, we will no longer have to serve this material world. Once we take up devotional service, then we're on the path back to Godhead. It's just a question of time before we get out of this material world. So that is devotional service. Devotional service is the goal of life. It's a means to get out of this material world. Lord Krishna is explaining to us how gradually we can come to this level. Controlling the mind. In the beginning, we may be doing karma yoga, using our senses, we're working. But gradually, by working for Krishna, we will start to think more about why we're working. We will start to remember Krishna. You know, sometimes we get people come, they just want to do a little seva in the temple. They're not really chanting, they're not listening to classes even, but they're coming and they're helping, doing some seva. And gradually they start to hear more and they get more and more inclination. Then eventually even they go to visit the holy place. They want to go to India and go to the Dham. So the people making more and more advancement as they go on in the association of Krishna consciousness. This is a sign that they're being more and more purified and they're on the path back home, back to Godhead. So it's a gradual process. We have to continue. We're taking the direct process. It's in the lift. It's much quicker than walking up the stairs. Even though we may think, sometimes people think, I'm not making much progress, I seem to be going very slow, I don't think I'm really advancing. Actually, we cannot understand how much we're changing. People may think, oh, I'm just the same as when before I was a devotee. I've become a devotee and I've been chanting and doing everything for so long. I don't think I've changed. But actually we have changed. Our subtle body has changed. We have changed so much. Because that is we have to change. We're contacting Krishna, chanting the holy name. So many aspects of devotional service are purifying us and they're changing the subtle body. And that change is for our benefit, that we will no longer have to take birth again in this material world. So this is the goal, Krishna consciousness. Are there any questions? I'll read the translation again. If you cannot take to this practice, then engage yourself in the cultivation of knowledge. Better than knowledge, however, is meditation. And better than meditation is renunciation of the fruits of action. For by such renunciation, one can attain peace of mind.
Or physically giving up charity and those kind of.
Yes, in renunciation, is it mentally renouncing or physically giving up the fruits of action? Physically giving up the fruits of action. Mentally renouncing, that's you're not really renouncing that. We can, in some ways, we can cheat ourselves. Well, I'm not attached. I'm not really attached. But actually, we still keep attachment there. So to actually renounce, we have to actually physically give up. So, of course, it depends on when what particular thing we're giving up. If we have some wealth, we want to renounce our attachment to wealth. We may say, well, I'm not attached. In our mind, we can say, well, I'm not really attached. It's all Krishna's. But we have to show that by using the wealth in the service of Krishna. Giving up, renouncing, this is karma yoga. In bhakti yoga, a devotee has nothing to give up. Because a devotee understands that everything is Krishna's. That is bhakti yoga. That is the highest consciousness. That a devotee doesn't think, I'm giving something to Krishna. If we think I'm giving something to Krishna, that's karma yoga. We think we still have something to give. But actually a devotee thinks everything is Krishna's. It's all his. I don't have any, he's given it to me. So I have to use it for him. But if we're thinking, I'm going to give this to Krishna, I'm offering this to Krishna, that is karma yoga. The consciousness that we have something, so I'm giving this to Krishna. Karma yoga, we're attached to work and we give some results. In bhakti yoga, one will do any work for Krishna.
Maharaj, in order to attend the temple programs, so maybe in the house, the deity worship and other activities might be slightly reduced. How is it okay?
Well, if you're coming to the temple to serve the deities here, you don't need to keep a deity in the house. Yeah. And by serving the deity here in the temple, your deity, if you have a deity at home, that service is also covered by serving the deity in the temple. There's no difference. You serve the deity here, or you serve the... Just like Madhavendra Puri, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita describes Madhavendra Puri. So he discovered the Gopal deity on Govardhan Hill. And then Gopal asked him, please go and bring me some camphor and sandalwood. So Madhavendra Puri went to Jagannath Puri to get sandalwood and camphor and to bring it all the way back to Govardhan for Gopal. But on his way back, when he was at the Gopinath temple at Ramuna, where Shirakora Gopinath deity was there, at that time Gopal appeared in his dream and told him that I am the same as Gopinath, so you can offer the camphor and sandalwood to me here. You don't need to bring it all the way back to Govardhan. So in the same way, if you're worshipping Krishna here in the temple, you know, then the worship, your deity at home is also satisfied. But Prabhupada, you know, at least in Los Angeles, he encouraged the devotees that you come to the temple, you worship the deity in the temple. You don't need to keep your own deities at home. If you have, of course, if you have a family, you're a bit far away, and the family are not able to come to the temple, then you may like to have your own deity at home. So for the benefit of the family, you keep a deity. Some other question? Renouncing the fruits of... Well, there is Sakama Karma Yoga and Niskam Karma Yoga. Sakam Karma Yoga means we're still attached somewhat to the result. You give some percentage. Niskam Karma Yoga means you're giving everything that you work, but you're attached to working. So different levels. Prabhupada gave different instructions to people. He spoke how householders, they can give up to 50%. He said up to 50% of their income for the service of Krishna. Grihastas have to maintain their family. Of course, in this age, most people, they don't have so much wealth. You know, unless you're a businessman, you know, some big Vaishya, and that, we don't have so much money to give charity and to support temples. It's difficult for people because you're just surviving. Most people just you get enough money just to survive, to maintain, to provide for the family and support the family. After that, there's nothing left. So the idea of giving 50%, that's really meant for the wealthy people who are accumulating wealth. That they should give 50% of their accumulated wealth. Just like Rupa Goswami, when he retired, you know, he was a big man, a minister in the government, so he had a lot of wealth. So 50% was given for the Krishna consciousness movement, 25% for relatives, and he kept 25% for his own emergencies. A devotee is encouraged to, if one can give his whole life for the service of Krishna. If you cannot give your life, then we have some money. You can give some money for the Krishna conscious community according to how much you can able to spare for the service of Krishna. That will be for our spiritual benefit. If we have no money, then give your intelligence. Use your intelligence for the service of Krishna. And if you have no intelligence, then use your tongue. Use your words to chant Hare Krishna. Do that. So in this way everyone can do something for Krishna. Whatever we have, we want to offer do something for the service of Krishna. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu engaged everyone in chanting Hare Krishna. When somebody like Maharaj Prataparudra was the king of Puri, then he offered accommodation, he arranged the meals for all the devotees when they came for the Rath Yatra. He made many nice arrangements for the service of the devotees. When Ramananda Rai wanted to retire, then Maharaj Prataparudra gave him a pension so that he could retire, and he just wanted to, Ramananda Rai wanted to just associate with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Maharaj Prataparudra facilitated it by giving him pension. So like that, rich people, if somebody has some wealth, they can use it for the service of Krishna and for Krishna's devotees. Some of our temples, like in Bombay, the temple at Chowpatty, they have a very nice arrangement to help the different members of the congregation. If there's some emergency situation, if somebody has some serious health problem and he's not able to meet all the costs of the medical, then the congregation will try to help them. Somebody even wants to begin some business, then the congregation, if they think it is a feasible proposal, they will help them to initiate the business. Like that, the congregation, they try to help each other so that they can do more Krishna conscious activities for the benefit of Krishna's devotees. It's not just only that we want temple and worship of Krishna, but we also want to take care of the devotees. In Krishna consciousness, we don't want to just be only kanistas. A kanista will only offer respect to the deity and has no consideration for the devotees. So it's important also that we want to take care for the devotees. We should be concerned for the welfare of the devotees, to help the devotees be nicely situated. If people have some problem, then the devotees should be thinking how to help them so that they can remain in Krishna consciousness. So that is the spirit of the Vaishnava community, devotee community, that we're very concerned for each other. We want to have nice loving dealings and we care about the welfare of each other. We're thinking how to help everyone, how to make sure that they can meet all the problems of life and remain in Krishna consciousness, to progress in Krishna consciousness. The more the community becomes organized, then the more we can make these kind of arrangements. As Krishna consciousness expands, we're seeing more and more nice communities of devotees who are taking care and helping each other so that they can develop spiritually and materially. If we take care of our spiritual life, then naturally our material life will also improve. That is a fact. Any other question?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Maharaj, in your statement you say that everything belongs to Krishna, but anything we think that we are offering to Krishna or we are doing for Krishna, then it becomes karma.
No, it doesn't become karma.
Yes, if it is karma, then Krishna says, if anything directly related to me or if the opportunity is become a devotion, part of devotional service. So, there is this not a contradiction between we are offering to Krishna, you are saying karma, and on the other hand, Krishna says if it is related to me as a bhakti.
Yes, well, it depends how we offer it.
Like you are saying our frame of mind?
The offering, if you offer it with love, you see in the consciousness that this is Krishna's and I'm giving it to him. Krishna's allowing me to give this to him. That is bhakti.
Right.
You see? But if we think this is mine and I'm giving it to Krishna, then that's not exactly bhakti.
So mainly is a frame of our mind.
Yes. Krishna consciousness is certainly, the mind is very important. We have to focus the mind in the right mode of being the servant of Krishna. And that understanding that everything belongs to Krishna. That is, that you notice in the first, I was explaining tonight about the different levels of practicing Krishna consciousness. That First of all, on the highest level, the mind is always absorbed in thinking of Krishna without deviation. And then the next level, Bhakti Yoga, following the principles of Bhakti Yoga. So both these levels, using the mind, Bhakti Yoga involves the mind. But when you come further down, working for Krishna, you don't use the mind so much. You're just using the body. We don't use the mind so much. You see, that's the nature of karma yoga, that we're just doing some work. We're not using our mind much. We haven't really understood anything about Krishna. We haven't got a lot of faith maybe yet in Krishna, but we're just doing something for Him. So gradually we will develop more of a desire to attain Him. We have to hear more, develop more sambandha gyan. We hear more how everything is Krishna's, how it all comes from Krishna, how it's all meant for His enjoyment. And then we can develop more the mood of bhakti.
In another statement, you said it is secondary if you have a temple is nearby, or if you come and worship the deity in the temple. Secondary to have the deity at home and to giving the service to deity at home. That is, which is in supplementary ways it is a secondary. But if you suppose are staying at home, and all the time if you see the Krishna at home, like in your temple you comes like say twice in a day, morning and in the evening. But other time at home, if you have a deity at home, you can serve the deity, you can worship to the deity. This is not more suitable than to in the temple to worship only?
You have to decide. It's up to you. You have to decide where you want to worship the deity. If you have some service in the temple, devotees are needed to do the puja here in the temple, and if you're required to come in the temple, then it might be more important for you to come and do the seva in the temple. We shouldn't think where I can do less, but we should think where can I do the most seva, right? We shouldn't think, I'm not going to go to the temple, they might ask me to do something there, they might engage me, so just let me stay at home. We should think, where can I do the most service for Krishna? That's the idea. So you have to decide where, if you feel you're more needed at home, that your family needs you at home, and like that, and if you stay at home, then the family will do arti and you'll have kirtan and you can give class to your family and everything, then very good. But if you stay at home, you don't do much, then maybe it's better to come to the temple. Maybe you'll be more active in devotional service in the temple than you are at home. You have to consider. Your family may need you at home. Your wife may say, why are you always going off to the temple? Why we can't just stay here and do the program here in the house? Okay, so then you stay at home and you do arti at home and have program at home. It's not hard and fast, you have to see what's most suitable for you. But suitable in terms of what's going to help me do more devotional service? Where am I going to be more Krishna conscious? And of course, you don't want to be neglectful also. You have a family, you have to remember responsibilities are there. The family need you. You should be there keeping them Krishna conscious. So like that. But I was making the point that the deity Krishna is the same. Krishna in the temple, Krishna at home. Hare Krishna. Oh. Okay.
Hare Krishna.